Let's get back to the race for Maricopa County Sheriff. Whoever the next sheriff ends up being, they are facing some big issues. High jail death rates, massive staff shortages, and ongoing court-ordered reforms. Just before the break, we reported on Republican candidate Jerry Sheridan and his past experience there in the sheriff's office.
So now we want to turn to the Democrat, Tyler Kamp, a retired Phoenix police lieutenant who says he wants the job. But as 12 News journalist Joe Dana reports, Kamp is also answering for a sexual harassment finding while he was still with Phoenix PD.
Tyler Kamp believes his deep background in solving large criminal cases will help him address the backlog at the sheriff's office of internal affairs investigations. These are cases involving deputies accused of misconduct. But when Kamp left the force, another officer brought a human resources complaint against him, one the city upheld. For all his work as a Phoenix officer and lieutenant, Tyler Kamp gets most enthusiastic discussing the year he and his family spent in Ghana after retirement, working for an anti-trafficking organization.
I worked with an undercover team where I identified kids that have been trafficked and identified the traffickers. Then I would coordinate with the police in that village. I learned a lot living overseas in a country where you're a guest.
How did you convince your kids, we're going to go do this?
They were excited about it.
Really?
Yeah. They're also excited to come home.
Yeah. Kamp says lessons learned thousands of miles away will be just as valuable as any if he's elected sheriff.
We have to work with others. We have to collaborate.
Joe must go!
Nearly a decade removed from the landmark Melendrez civil rights lawsuit, the sheriff's office must rely on community organizations and contractors with the court to continue reforming the office.
I think we're on a great path right now. Where we're struggling is some of the backlog of misconduct investigations. And that's where I think my background, my strength is investigation.
The office also faces a massive staff shortage. Kamp proposes a merit-based pay system for deputies and investments in a walk-in employee wellness clinic.
It's a hard job, it's a complex job. We have to do a better job meeting those mental needs.
While talking about the future, Kamp also faces consequences of his past. After Kamp retired in 2021, a rookie Phoenix police officer filed an official complaint against him 5 months later. The officer provided text messages showing Kamp flirting with her, calling her cute, and asking her out. The investigation concluded Kamp violated the department's sexual harassment policy.
I strongly deny the allegation of harassment. I have not, nor will I engage in harassment of any kind. I did exchange a text message with a coworker that were mutual. Some were not respectful to my wife, and my wife and I have dealt with that years ago.
Respectfully, is it fair to call this rookie officer a coworker? I mean, you were a lieutenant.
She was a coworker. When these text messages were exchanged, these mutual text messages, she was not working under my chain of command.
The second point from that investigation, it states that you denied even sending text messages. Were you truthful with investigators during this?
No, it doesn't say that.
So it says, although Lieutenant Kamp denied sending the messages, the officer provided screenshots.
So it's important to understand this investigation was not completed. This is an incomplete investigation. There was never a review process. It was an HR complaint that was made at least 2 years after these text messages had been exchanged. And so when I was asked about these messages, I couldn't remember what kind of messages I would have sent.
12 News reviewed Kamp's 100-page employment record. It includes several commendations. Superiors praised him for what they called exceptional and charismatic and engaging leadership qualities. It also included 2 disciplinary findings more than a decade ago, one involving Kamp inappropriately using a police database, leading to a 1-day suspension. The second, a reprimand for driving a city vehicle on personal time. Kamp used those events to make a contrast with his opponent, who at the time was the number 2 in charge at the sheriff's office.
Those were mistakes I made. I learned from them. And when I think back 12 years ago, I'm reminded of what was going on in the valley at the time. And that was in the height of these illegal roundups being done by the Jerry and Joe show.
Although Kamp is the Democratic nominee for sheriff, he only changed his voter registration from Republican to Democrat in the last year to run for sheriff. Who will you support this election and why?
Unfortunately, politics has become so divisive. So I will follow in Sheriff Pinzone's footsteps and not endorse national candidates. I'm not going to endorse issues.
And on the issue of immigration?
I'm a big believer in you stay in your lane. My job is to enforce the laws, not to create the laws. That's what legislators are for, and that's when you have the opportunity to vote for the legislators you feel represent your interests.
Joe Dana, 12 News.